Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Think Future. My name's Calabucas, and once again, we're coming at you live from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We're talking innovation, startups, the future, not necessarily those, and not necessarily in that order. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to smack that subscribe button and hit the bell so that you'll be notified when you get a new video 6 times a week. That's right, folks, 6 times a week, every week. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast service, just hit that subscribe button and leave us a mention on Apple Podcasts if you like the show. If not, just pop me an email or drop me a comment below. So, I love I love doom and gloom folks because, bless those doom and gloom folks. They really think that they know what they're talking about. And the biggest problem I have with doom and gloom folks, let's go back. Let's go way back to, Thomas Malthus, who wrote, I think, the first essay on overpopulation. I forget exactly what he wrote, but he was like one of the very first doom and gloom types who said, that's it. The human race is going to die out because planet Earth can only hold so many people on it, right? And since then, and I'm sure that there were plenty before that, since then we've had doom and gloom, 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 forever. So many people talking about how horrible things are and how the end of the world is nigh. Now, some of these people truly believe that their statistics are telling them that all these things are going to happen and the end of the world is nigh. And some of them just use it as grift. They use it as a way to get more money out of people, right? Because people will use all sorts of tactics to try and get more money out of people. They don't necessarily need to be truthful. Maybe they believe it themselves and they think, well, we need to do something to make some cash, so we'll use this as an excuse to raise funds. So some people believe all these doom and gloom stories, and some things are maybe they're true, right? Maybe they aren't true. But the one thing that most people forget whenever they do these doom and gloom studies is what they do is they take, it's a standard futures trick. It's not a futures trick, it's a technique. You take something that's happening today and you extrapolate it. So you say, this is the amount of grain that we grow in a year. And this is the amount of people who are being born in a year. So if the amount of food that we create in a year stays more or less straight, like the inclined curve is lower than the number of people who are born every year, then, oh my God, at some point the world will starve. The world will starve. That's it. See how simple this is? It's obvious, isn't it? We're never going to make enough food for enough people. But what is that person forgetting? What are they forgetting when they look at those numbers? They are ignoring human ingenuity, human inventiveness. See, this is the thing that I think a lot of these doom and gloom folks don't understand, is that we are problem-solving creatures. That's what human beings are. And when we are given a tractable problem, an intractable problem, whatever the problem is, we are going to work on that and we're going to solve that problem. We're going to come up with solutions that will work. And this is why these doom and gloom folks, they can't see beyond the extrapolations that they have today. They have to understand that at some point in the future, some humans will get together and solve the problem, or at least alleviate the problem to such an extent that it's not going to be as much of a problem or a problem at all at some point. Case in point, I think they said something like the world could not possibly handle 4 billion people, 5 billion people, 6 billion people, 7 billion people, 8 billion people. As we grow and grow and grow and grow, we can still handle those people because of technology advances have been able to feed those people. So the more people we create, the more food we can create for those people. The more fresh water we can create for those people. The more domiciles we can create for those people. The more we are able to find power sources for those people. You see what I'm saying? Is that even if the problem grows, our ability to solve the problem grows right along with it. I was reading a science fiction story, Robert Silverberg. He was talking about a future Earth where people live in these giant towers. And I think he posits that it's something like 8 trillion human beings live on planet Earth. And I'm like, that sounds like a big number. But it might be possible. It might be possible because we figured out some way of being able to sustain that level of humanity based on technology. Because human beings who have said we're all going to die, human beings have come along and said, you know what? We figured out a way that we don't. I mean, look at the problem with global warming. Let's say you're one of those folks who believes in global warming and you believe that the biggest problem is meat consumption. That it's all these cows farting everywhere, they're creating all this methane in the atmosphere, and this is the biggest problem, and we need to reduce meat consumption, right? So if we don't reduce meat consumption, it's the end of the world in 12 years or something like that, right? What happens? We create our own meat. We start eating less meat. We create plant-based alternatives to meat, or we genetically clone meat. We've figured out how to make a burger. I mean, it's a $300,000 burger, but it's a real burger cloned from meat. It's not actually grown. So if you look at that and extrapolate it a few years out, we're going to have factories 3D printing meat, actual beef, real beef, genetically produced beef. It's actual meat. It's not plant-based. It's actual meat without the requirement for a cow. That will reduce the requirement for cows, which will reduce the methane in the atmosphere, which will extend the life of the planet if you believe that that's what's causing the biggest problems. So you see, we have our best minds working on this. The human race is working on all of these intractable issues. And so far, we've been able to figure some of them out. Now, there's some we haven't figured out yet, but we're progressing. And that's why when you hear about doom and gloom and all these horrible things happening, you have to factor in human inventiveness. If you factor in human inventiveness, then you can say to yourself, wait a minute, maybe some of these things are not going to occur because we'll be able to figure out how to get around them. Human beings, smart human beings, will be able to figure it out. That is what we are. We're problem-solving animals. And whenever there's a problem that's presented to us that we think is intractable, we're going to say, by God, I'm going to figure that out. We're going to figure that out. We're going to figure it out. So don't forget to factor in human inventiveness when you're planning for the future. That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.